Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. With a new school year underway, Arkansas's school voucher program has grown. The state is providing even more money for private tuition and other educational expenses under its LEARNS Act. And Antoinette Grajeda with the Arkansas Advocate News Service is here to tell us more about why that is happening and joins us now. Antoinette, always good to see you. Welcome back.
You too. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so this program now open to all students. So translate that into the number of schools and the dollar amounts going into those schools that participate that you've looked at.
Yeah, so the program's been slowly rolled out over 3 years, and now everyone can be eligible this year. So 164 schools, private schools applied, 160 have been approved so far, and each student that is allowed to participate will get up to about $7,000.
So compared to the 2023 school year, did I read that right, that some are getting double to triple the amounts?
So what has changed is everybody gets the same amount. The amount that the state has set per student was around $6,700 that first year, and now we're up to $7,000, so about $100 a year, give or take. But the tuition at these private schools has continued to go up, and that's what we were sort of wanting to look into at this with this particular story. It's not unusual for tuition to go up. Everything goes up year after year, but we kind of wanted to see what it's looked like over the span of the 3 years of this program.
Yeah.
And so we found there were about 93 schools, so not quite 100, that have been a part of this from day one. And amongst them, the average increase there was about $1,400. There are definitely, obviously, more schools participating this year, and so we also sort of wanted to look at those 160 schools and what their tuition looked like in this coming year compared to last year. And so there was a wide range of increases, some, pretty minimal, some in the thousands of dollars.
Well, one that's in our area I wanted to bring up is Calvary Christian Academy in Berryville.
Sure.
What do they charge, et cetera?
Sure. So their tuition for this upcoming year is $6,200. It's about $3,000 more from last year. And in doing this project, the way we got the information was we did a public information records request to the Department of Education, and they gave us the applications for all these schools, and we sorted through that way. And so in this particular school's application, they included some information about why they were raising their tuition so much. Some of the things they said were, we're going to include fees in the tuition price, which we didn't before. Oftentimes in the past, what you'll see is you'll have the tuition be a certain rate, and then there are additional fees for books or the building or different things like that. Another thing that they said was we want to give our teachers a raise, so we're going to raise tuition to help do that. So part of the rules with the EFA program, the Educational Freedom Account program, is that the Department of Education can prohibit schools from participating if they determine that the tuition or the fees, those increases are, quote, are unreasonable or arbitrary. So when I reached out to the department to ask, so it's not like a hard number. So I asked the department, like, what does that look like? And the spokesperson said, if we see something that looks off, we reach out just for more information. And so I think that's why some schools, like this particular Berryville school, went ahead and submitted information, just kind of get it ahead of it. Like, this is why we're doing this.
So a side question here about that. So the tuition hasn't gone up because they can get more money, has it?
They didn't say necessarily that. Most schools, they had a reasoning behind why they were raising tuition. They didn't say it's because you're giving us more money. They just would say things, we're including the fees this time, or, the cost of education is going up, et cetera, et cetera. But nobody that I saw specifically said that. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned that they were giving teachers raises. Are they doing more with more voucher money?
So some of the schools that I talked to said that they were really excited to have the voucher money. I think in the sense of it's a guaranteed income, right? You might have students in the past who maybe couldn't pay tuition, right? And you can decide if you keep them or you let them stay on or what that looks like. And so with the state paying the funds, they're, able to plan and perhaps charge more than they have in the past, for example. And so some of the schools that I talked to said, with having this money come in, we're going to be able to plan for more programming or extracurricular activities. Or one school even told me, the small private Christian school is like, we're going to be able to provide meals to our kids this year. So it kind of varies from school to school.
So are the students' families paying any for this, or is it like a total scholarship, a free ride?
So it's for specific allowable expenses. So it's not for every. Tuition is obviously the main, draw for folks.
The biggie, right?
The biggie, right, exactly. And so it'll depend on the cost of the school, of course. So if you've got $7,000, if it's tuition's below that, then there's a chance that it would be all paid for. There are several schools that charge much more than that, right? The average was this year, the tuition is close to $9,000, just kind of on average. So it's already $2,000 more than what is being offered by the state. So even without that, they would still have to pay that change. If it was less than, there still are things like fees for books and stuff that parents would have to pay out of pocket. And the other thing that's kind of hard to calculate with all of this is a lot of schools offer discounts on top of what the tuition cost is. And so for our analysis, we just looked at the straight tuition. Like, if I don't get any help whatsoever, what does this look like? But a lot of is like churches, private schools that are related to the churches, they'll be like, oh, you get a discount for being a church member. Or most places will offer a discount if you have more than one child enrolled, things like that. So there are ways that the price adjusts and how, you could stretch that dollar even further.
So here's kind of the bottom line question. Now that we're in the third year of the LEARNS Act rollout, overall, what is the grand total the Arkansas Education Department is kicking in statewide for these schools that have been successful applicants?
So as of now, the state has approved $277 million for the project. That includes an extra $90 million that lawmakers approved back in June, because there was such an influx of people that said they wanted to do this. The applications for students closed on the 15th. There were more than 50,000 that applied and more than 44,000 that had been approved as of the 14th, the last time I talked to the Department of Education. I did ask if they're going to open up applications again, because in the past, students were able to apply later in the year, say you moved in from somewhere else, or like it's semester, things like that. And they said they weren't sure yet, but as of right now, they are still committed to making sure that they can fund all of the folks that have applied so far.
All right, Antoinette Grajeda with Arkansas Advocate doing the math for us and the big picture on private school vouchers. You can see Antoinette and other Arkansas Advocates reporters' stories online and on social media, as well as this conversation on KY3.com and the KY3 News app, Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV+. Antoinette, as always, we are grateful for your time. You always make us smarter, and we look forward to next time.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you.